Have you ever had a moment when something you prayed for suddenly appeared? No long waiting list, no complicated process. Just boom, it happened. That's not luck. That's divine supply. You see, when the divine flow moves, it doesn't move slowly. It moves instantly. But here's the truth most people miss. The delay is never in God. The delay is in our belief. We think wealth takes time. We think success is a 10-year plan. We think blessing is a long process. But heaven doesn't operate on human calendars. If God created the world in 6 days, why do we think our breakthrough requires 6 years? Let me tell you a story. A woman once shared how she was struggling to pay rent. She prayed, "God, I need help but fast." Moments later, her phone buzzed. A friend, out of nowhere, sent her exactly the amount she needed. She wept, not because of the money, but because she realized God can move in minutes. Divine supply doesn't crawl. It flows. And the moment your faith aligns with that flow, your life begins to move at heaven's speed. So the real question is, are you aligned? You can't expect instant miracles while holding on to constant doubt. You can't speak, "I'm blessed," while thinking, "I'm broke." That's like planting a seed and then digging it up every day to check if it's growing. Faith isn't waiting and worrying. Faith is resting and expecting. When you believe without resistance, the supply responds without delay. Think about electricity. When you flip a switch, the light doesn't slowly fade in. It instantly appears. That's how divine supply works. The moment connection is made, illumination follows. You want wealth to move fast? Stop chasing it. Start trusting the source that moves faster than time. Sometimes we pray and then panic. We say, "God, I trust you." But 5 minutes later, we're checking our bank app like heaven forgot us. Listen, divine timing isn't about delay. It's about readiness. God isn't making you wait. He's preparing your capacity. Because wealth without wisdom destroys. But wealth with awareness multiplies. And the moment your inner world says yes, your outer world aligns. I've seen people go from zero to overflow in days. Why? Because they stopped thinking small and started believing now. When your faith becomes immediate, your results follow the same rhythm. Say this with me. My supply is not delayed. It's in motion right now. Feel that. That's not wishful thinking. That's alignment. Because the universe, God, Source, whatever name you use, responds not to begging but to belief. So today, stop saying one day. Start saying this day. Because divine supply doesn't move tomorrow. It moves in minutes. And the moment you believe that, you'll see wealth flow to you faster than you ever imagined. Here are some key points related to this. Divine supply moves instantly. The only delay is our disbelief or doubt. Faith is alignment. Once you believe fully, results manifest rapidly. God's timing isn't slow. It's about preparing you to receive wisely. Stop chasing wealth. Start trusting source. Flow replaces struggle. Wealth follows awareness. Your inner belief sets the speed of your blessing. Shift from one day to this day. Miracles move at the pace of your expectation. You probably heard the phrase, God's timing is perfect. But what if that timing was never slow in the first place? What if the divine current of abundance was always ready, always flowing, waiting only for you to believe it could reach you now? Imagine standing under a sky heavy with rain, holding an umbrella closed in your hand. The clouds are ready to pour, but you're the one deciding when to open the umbrella. That's how divine supply works. It's not waiting to form. It's waiting to flow through your faith. The delay isn't in heaven's plan. It's in our hesitation to trust that the blessing is already on its way. There's a story I once heard about a man who lost his job unexpectedly. He was crushed, confused, sitting in his small apartment surrounded by unpaid bills. For weeks, he kept saying, "Maybe next month I'll get something. Maybe next year will be better." His words became the walls that trapped him. One day, exhausted by worry, he sat quietly and said something different. "God, I know you haven't forgotten me. I believe you've already prepared my next door." The very next day, he received a call from an old friend offering him a position in a new company. one that paid more than his last job. That wasn't coincidence. That was divine supply responding the moment belief replaced doubt. The miracle didn't take months. It took a minute of faith. Divine supply doesn't move through time. It moves through alignment. The moment your belief becomes stronger than your fear, doors swing open that you didn't even know existed. Most people are not waiting for blessings. They're resisting them. They pray for wealth, but deep down they whisper, I don't deserve it yet. They ask for opportunities, but secretly fear they'll fail. It's like trying to receive a radio signal while the dial is tuned to the wrong frequency. The music is playing. It always was. But until you tune in, all you hear is static. Faith is the tuning dial divine supply. I remember a woman who once said, I stopped asking God when started thanking him now. Within a week, she received an unexpected promotion after years of being overlooked. She said, it was like the universe had been waiting for me to stop doubting myself. Her story is a reminder that heaven doesn't measure time the way we do. To God, minutes and years are the same. The instant you step into full belief, everything begins to shift around you. Think of light. When you flip the switch, it doesn't gradually glow into existence. It bursts into brightness instantly. That's how divine wealth, healing, and opportunity respond to true faith. The energy of the universe is always charged, always ready, always flowing. The only thing standing between desire and manifestation is the small pause of human hesitation. And when that hesitation finally dissolves, when you stop asking if and start affirming it is done, that's when divine supply moves. Not tomorrow, not someday, but in the very minute you believe. Faith is not a distant hope. It's an alignment, a deep synchronization between what you believe and what already exists in the unseen. Imagine standing before a locked door, holding the right key in your hand, yet never turning it because you're unsure it fits. That's how many people approach their blessings. They have the belief somewhere inside them, but they never use it fully. Faith is the act of turning that key, not halfway, not with hesitation, but with full trust that the door will open. And when you do, it does instantly. There was once a young man who dreamed of starting his own business. Every time he saved some money, fear whispered, what if it fails? So he waited, telling himself he needed a better time. But there's never a better time for faith than now. One day, after months of overthinking, he felt something shift inside. He said aloud, I'm done waiting for signs. I'm moving with faith. That very week, an investor he'd met months before called him, offering to back his idea. The timing wasn't luck, it was alignment. The investor had been ready. The opportunity had been ready. What changed was a young man's inner world. The moment his belief aligned with his vision, reality followed suit. Faith doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't argue, it aligns. When you believe completely, your energy sends a signal that resonates with creation itself. It's like tuning a musical instrument. When your strings vibrate at the right frequency, harmony happens naturally. No struggle, no resistance, just flow. And that's why some people seem to manifest effortlessly. They've learned to align their hearts before their hands move. A woman once told me, I realized I was praying with my lips, but doubting with my thoughts. Her words carried a quiet truth. We often speak faith, but think fear. We say, I know abundance is coming, but then check our circumstances and sigh. That's not alignment. That's contradiction. The universe responds not to our words, but to our vibration. You can't say, I am free, while holding chains in your mind. You can't say, I am rich, while secretly fearing poverty. Real faith doesn't beg for evidence. It becomes the evidence. There's a story in every life where faith made the impossible look ordinary. A mother praying over her sick child who recovers against all odds. A dreamer stepping into an opportunity they weren't qualified for, yet somehow thriving. Those aren't exceptions. They're demonstrations of divine law. When the inner self believes, the outer world rearranges itself to match that belief. So the next time you wonder why your breakthrough feels delayed, ask yourself, am I aligned? Because the universe is not withholding. It's waiting for your frequency to match your desire. Faith is not about asking for what you want. It's about becoming the person who already has it. And when you reach that point, when your heart beats in rhythm with certainty, when your thoughts, words, and emotions stand in full agreement. Divine supply has no choice but to move fast, precise, unstoppable, because faith and fulfillment speak the same language. We often say, God's timing is perfect, but what we really mean is, I wish it would happen sooner. We confuse divine timing with delay, thinking heaven moves slowly or that blessings take time to form. But divine timing isn't about waiting, it's about readiness. The moment you're ready, what's meant for you rushes in like a river that's been waiting behind a dam. The truth is, God isn't withholding anything. He's preparing you to receive it without losing yourself in the process. There was once a man who prayed daily for financial freedom. Every morning he said, God, make me rich. But deep inside, he carried resentment, fear, and an old belief that money was the root of greed. So even though he prayed, he wasn't ready to receive. His inner world was still in conflict. One day, after losing another opportunity, he sat in silence and finally asked, what do I need to learn before I can handle the blessing I'm asking for? That question changed everything. Within months, he began managing his money differently, started giving more generously, and found peace with the idea of abundance. Then, almost suddenly, opportunities began appearing. Contracts, partnerships, promotions. He said, it wasn't that God was late. It was that I was unprepared for early. Divine timing is not a stopwatch in the sky. It's a mirror reflecting your maturity. When a child asks for the car keys, a loving parent doesn't say, no, forever. They say, not yet. The car exists. The road is ready. But the driver must first learn how to handle the power. That's how God works. Blessings arrive the moment your wisdom can sustain them. And if something hasn't manifested yet, it doesn't mean it's denied. It means it's being designed to meet you at your best level of readiness. Think about the seasons. No matter how much you wish for spring and winter, it doesn't come until the ground is ready to bloom. Nature doesn't rush, but it never delays either. Everything unfolds with precision. You don't panic when a seed takes weeks to sprout, because you trust the process unseen beneath the soil. Yet, when it comes to our dreams, we lose patience after a few prayers. We dig up the seed, questioning if it's still growing. But divine timing works underground first, strengthening roots before revealing results. A woman once said, I thought God was ignoring me when he was actually growing me. She'd prayed for a promotion for years, but kept being passed over. Frustrated, she almost gave up. Then she began using the time to learn leadership, build confidence, and mentor others. When her moment finally came, it wasn't just a promotion. It was a platform she could handle with grace. She smiled and said, now I understand. If I had received it earlier, I would have lost it. So when it feels like life is on pause, remember, it's not punishment, it's preparation. The universe never delays your destiny. It simply aligns it with your ability to hold it. Because God's timing is not about time. It's about transformation. The blessing is never late. It's waiting for you to be ready enough to keep it, grow it, and share it without fear. There comes a point in every person's journey where they realize that chasing only makes the blessing run faster. The more we reach outward, the more what we desire seems to slip away. But something beautiful happens when you stop chasing and start trusting. The very things you were running after begin to move toward you. That's the quiet power of surrender. The invisible magnetism that comes from knowing your source is greater than your striving. When you trust the source, you step out of the exhausting race for control and into the effortless rhythm of divine flow. There was once a man who had spent years chasing wealth. He woke up early, stayed up late, and worked tirelessly, but no matter how much he earned, peace always escaped him. One night, after losing yet another deal, he sat on the edge of his bed, head in his hands, whispering, what am I doing wrong? He wasn't lazy, he wasn't unskilled, but his heart was heavy with fear. The fear of not having enough, the fear of losing what little he had. In that still moment, a thought came to him. What if I've been chasing the gift and forgetting the giver? That realization hit him harder than any failure had. He closed his eyes and said, God, I can't keep doing this my way. I trust you to handle what I can't. That night, he slept deeply for the first time in years. Weeks later, doors began to open effortlessly. New clients, new ideas, new flow. He didn't push harder. He aligned deeper. The moment he stopped chasing, The current carried him farther than his struggle ever could. Trusting the source doesn't mean you stop working. It means you stop worrying. It means you release the need to control every outcome and allow divine order to take the lead. Imagine a river, steady, unstoppable, moving with power and purpose. You can either exhaust yourself swimming upstream, or you can surrender and let the current take you exactly where you need to go. That's how divine flow works. When you let go of the struggle and choose trust, you don't lose control. You finally step into real control, the kind guided by higher wisdom. A woman once told me she spent years praying for her business to grow. She read every book, attended every seminar, and still felt stuck. Then one day, she decided to do something radical. She stopped striving. She said, "Instead of forcing things, I started focusing on faith. I stopped begging God to bless my business and started thanking Him that it was already blessed." That shift changed everything. Within months, her business doubled. Not because she found some secret marketing trick, but because her energy shifted from desperation to trust. She stopped chasing success and started aligning with the source of it. The universe doesn't respond to panic. It responds to peace. Fear repels what faith attracts. Every time you chase from lack, you affirm that you don't have enough. But when you trust from abundance, you declare that everything you need is already on its way. Think about a farmer. He doesn't chase the harvest. He plants, waters, and waits with trust. The seed knows what to do, and so does the soil. The harvest doesn't come faster because of anxiety. It comes naturally because of alignment. There's a quote that says, "When you let go of what you can't control, you make room for what's meant to flow." That's divine truth. Sometimes the reason things aren't happening is because you're holding them too tightly. You're trying to force what was meant to be received. Trust opens a hand that chase keeps closed. It tells the universe, "I believe in the timing, I believe in the source, and I believe in the unseen hand guiding it all." The secret to divine wealth, to true abundance, isn't in chasing harder. It's in trusting deeper. When you let go, things don't fall apart. They fall into place. The moment you stop running after blessings and start resting in belief, life begins to unfold without friction. Opportunities appear effortlessly. Ideas flow naturally. Peace becomes your companion instead of pressure. And that's when you finally understand the greatest wealth isn't what you gain from the chase. It's the calm assurance that everything meant for you is already finding its way to you. Because trust doesn't just move mountains. It makes them irrelevant. Wealth does not begin in the bank. It begins in the mind. Every fortune, every breakthrough, every miracle starts first as a thought, a quiet belief that says, "I already have it." Your outer life is a reflection of your inner world. And until that inner world expands, the outer world cannot follow. Wealth follows awareness. It doesn't chase noise or effort. It responds to consciousness. That's why some people can work for years and still feel stuck, while others attract success seemingly overnight. The difference isn't luck, it's awareness. Imagine two people standing in front of a field of opportunity. One sees only empty land and thinks, "There's nothing here." The other sees fertile soil and whispers, "This is the start of something." The field hasn't changed, but their perception has. Awareness transforms what you see, and what you see shapes what you receive. The person who believes in lack will walk past doors that are already open. But the one who believes in divine abundance will recognize those same doors as invitations. The universe mirrors your awareness back to you, moment by moment, thought by thought. There was once a woman who said, "I kept asking God for more money, but I realized I didn't even know how to handle what I had." So she started shifting her mindset. Instead of saying, "I'm broke," she began saying, "I'm learning to manage abundance." She organized her finances, practiced gratitude for every small provision, and treated every dollar as a seed instead of a scarcity. Within months, her circumstances began to shift. Clients started coming in, unexpected income appeared, and her peace grew faster than her bank balance. She laughed one day and said, "The moment I started thinking rich, life started showing me how right I was." Her wealth didn't begin with numbers. It began with awareness. Our thoughts are like thermostats. They set the climate for what we can receive. If your inner setting is programmed for struggle, No matter how much success enters, you'll unconsciously push it away. That's why sudden wealth often disappears as quickly as it comes. The awareness that created it wasn't strong enough to sustain it. True wealth isn't measured by what you get. It's measured by what you can hold without fear. The more you expand your consciousness to believe you are worthy, capable, and connected to an infinite source, the faster abundance flows and stays. I once met a man who went from sleeping in his car to owning a thriving business. When asked what changed, he smiled and said, "My awareness. I stopped seeing myself as poor trying to get rich and started seeing myself as rich waking up to who I really am." That shift in identity, subtle but powerful, transformed everything. Because life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you believe you are. Awareness is like light. The more it shines, the clearer everything becomes. When you realize that wealth isn't something you chase, but something you tune into, you begin to move differently. You stop speaking the language of lack. You stop making fear-based decisions. You start carrying yourself like someone who already possesses what they once prayed for. And when your awareness reaches that level, money, opportunities, and people begin aligning with it naturally, there's a sacred moment when you stop asking when will it happen and start saying it's already unfolding. That moment is when divine supply moves. Because awareness is the invitation. When your mind expands, heaven responds. Every limitation begins to fade, and every possibility becomes visible. You start realizing that abundance isn't a future event. It's a present reality waiting for you to notice it. So if wealth seems distant, don't look at your bank account. Look at your belief system. Ask yourself, what am I aware of right now? If your awareness is filled with fear, shift it toward faith. If it's filled with waiting, shift it toward readiness. Because the truth is, wealth isn't something you earn piece by piece. It's something you awaken to. And the moment you awaken, you'll see that divine supply was never far away. It was simply waiting for your awareness to expand enough to recognize it was already here. There's an invisible power hidden in two small words. This day. Most people live trapped in the promise of one day. One day, I'll have more money. One day, I'll start that business. One day, I'll change my life. But one day is a moving target that never arrives because it keeps you living in a future that doesn't exist yet. Divine supply doesn't live in someday. It lives in the now. The moment you shift your language from one day to this day, you invite heaven's timing into your present moment. The universe moves in the vibration of now. And when you speak from now, creation responds immediately. There was once a man who spent years saying, "One day I'll be successful." He worked hard, but every time he got close to something good, doubt whispered, "Not yet, maybe later." Then, after another missed opportunity, he finally realized that one day had become his biggest excuse. He stood in front of his mirror and said, "This day, I choose to step into abundance." Something in him shifted. That week, he took action he'd been postponing for years. He made calls, showed up with confidence, and stopped waiting for perfect timing. Within months, everything changed. His mindset turned magnetic, and doors that had been closed began to open. Later, he said, "The moment I stopped waiting for the right time and declared it was already my time, life agreed." When you keep saying one day, you push your blessing forward. You're telling the universe, "I'm not ready yet." But when you say this day, you align your spirit with divine readiness. Think of it like planting a seed. If you keep saying, "I'll plant it tomorrow," the ground never receives it. But when you plant it today, growth begins immediately. Faith doesn't live in the future. It's alive right now. That's why miracles always seem to happen suddenly. They occur the moment belief becomes present. There was a woman who prayed for years to find peace after a painful divorce. Every morning she said, "One day I'll be happy again." But that day never came because she kept imagining her healing as a distant event. Then one morning, she woke up and whispered, "This day, I choose peace." She didn't feel fully ready, but she decided to act as if peace already belonged to her. She went outside, breathed deeply, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Lightness. That single decision created a ripple. Her conversations changed, her energy lifted. And within weeks, her circumstances began to match her new awareness. She didn't find peace in the future. She activated it in the now. Divine supply moves with immediacy. The moment you declare, this day, everything in the unseen starts rearranging itself to honor that declaration. God never delays. He responds to conviction. When your words and faith stand in agreement, miracles manifest naturally. It's not magic, it's alignment. The energy of this day tells the universe, I am no longer waiting, I am ready. And readiness is the magnet for manifestation. Think of the difference between a runner at the starting line saying, one day I'll start this race, versus saying, I'm running now. The race of abundance begins when you take that first step, not when the conditions are perfect, but when your faith is active. Every great shift in history began when someone decided that today was the moment. There's a line that says, procrastination is the assassination of manifestation. The longer you wait to believe, the longer you delay what's already yours. Heaven moves at the speed of faith, and faith only exists in the present. This day is where divine supply meets your decision. When you wake up each morning and say, this is the day my abundance flows. This is the day my breakthrough begins. You give creation permission to move now. So stop saying one day. Stop waiting for signs, for perfect timing, for external proof. The universe doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to declaration. The shift happens the moment you say, this day I am blessed. This day I am aligned. This day I am ready. Because wealth, healing, opportunity, and peace don't live in the far-off future. They're standing right outside your door, waiting for you to open it today. So here we are, standing at the edge of possibility. Everything you prayed for, everything you've dreamed of, everything you've waited on. It's not far, it's not hidden, it's not delayed. It's here. It's been circling your life, waiting for you to finally believe that it can happen now. You don't need to chase anymore. You don't need to beg anymore. You don't need to wait for one day. Because this day is the day the divine flow moves through you. Wealth without delay isn't a fantasy. It's a frequency. And the moment your heart aligns with faith, heaven aligns with you. Say it again until it feels real. This is my time. This is my moment. This is my day. Every second you believe, the universe rearranges itself to meet that belief. Every step you take in faith, divine supply takes 10 steps toward you. Don't wait another year to become what God already designed you to be. Don't wait for a perfect sign when you are the sign that it's time. Because the truth is, miracles don't move on schedules. They move on surrender. And the second you let go of doubt, you make space for destiny. So rise up today with a quiet boldness in your spirit. Speak your abundance. Walk in your purpose. Trust your source. Because the power that creates worlds is the same power flowing through you. And when you finally believe that, wealth won't take years. It won't take months. It won't even take days. It will move in minutes. Your support means everything. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember this, the delay was never in the divine. It was only in your decision to believe that. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.